And I'm live, but the lighting here is really no good. Let's see, what should I do? Should I turn here? All right, that's a bit better. Okay. It has been a long time since I've gone live, and I don't even know how this is gonna go, but I suddenly had a chunk of time now, hopefully, if the baby sleeps. And the Burning Element sent in a question. So, oh, hello, someone who's here. Hi there. So this is going to be a live stream on the name EHYE, as it's brought down in Pardes Rimonim by Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, where he brings the Zohar and speaks of the name EHYE. But before that, I'll read the question, which I was asked. All right, the Burning Element says, "Brother, can you do a video about Hashem's name?" I replied, "I dare say I can, in my amateurish way. Anything in particular?" To which he replied, "Just explain how Hashem's revelation of infinite nature was revealed to Moses at the burning bush." To which I replied, "Just this morning," or, well, yes, this morning, I replied, so do you mean the name EHYE? The Burning Element has yet to respond, right? It's a holiday weekend in the States. I don't even remember if he's in the States. I don't remember at all, but I know that it's a Sunday. People are, whether it's the first day of the week or whether it's the weekend, I know that maybe right now people aren't gonna, hello, two people who are here, hi there. So, like I said, I haven't done a live stream in such a long time, but I'm looking forward to this. Hey, look at you, little Andrea, you're here, voila. That's me, that's us. So I'm gonna talk about the name EHYE. Now, I have the book Pardes Rimonim. I try to learn it every Shabbos, every holiday, festive day, right? The new moon, days which have more of a quality and a capacity for learning these higher teachings. And, well, let's leave it at that. It's one of my favorite books, and I've been learning it for 7-8 years, I think 8 years or so, something like that. So I'm going to read, though, from my phone, because it's just a little easier. And plus, you don't have that book, over here open in front of the camera. I don't know if the phone is any better, but we're going to read. We're going to read the name EHYE as it's brought down in Pardes Rimonim, which is Rabbi Moshe Cordovero's most cited, I think, work and his magnum opus, even though towards the end of his life, he also wrote the book Elima, which is, I have it physically, but I haven't started studying it yet. I don't know when I will get to it. But anyway, there's a very crucial and key difference between the teachings of the Pardes Rimonim, I'm told, and the teachings of the Elima, in the sense of the Ari, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, who came after Rabbi Moshe Cordovero and who opened up the Kabbalah in a whole other way with the lore of the Partzufim, but let's not go down that road. So, B'Shem EHYE, says Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Now I'm going to read, it's in Hebrew and in Aramaic, and I'll try and read and translate. And so let me know, by the way, in the chat if you have any questions, comments, concerns, slander, anything. Oh God, I don't want to talk about the war. Let's just bring some Torah up in here if I can manage it. And even though I'm reading from another man's book, a rabbi's book, and he's quoting, right, the Zohar, and I hope I'll be able to also bring some insight of my own, if possible, and my experience into the fold. Okay, so enough dilly-dally. It's been 4 minutes. Let's get cracking. B'Shem EHYE. Hashem Hazeh, right, this name has been attributed to the Sphira of Keter, right? In the Tree of Life, we have 10 Sphirot, 10 and not 9, 10 and not 11. And the highest Sphira, which corresponds in the human body to the hair of the Nazarite, specifically, and for someone who is not a Nazarite, it's, let's say, something which is outside of the physical skull and mind and head. Right? Well, mind is not physical. You know what I'm saying. Something which is outside of our perception. Okay, let's leave it at that. All right. Bi'er Perusho Rabbi Moshe b'Sefer Hashem. So Rabbi Moshe in his book Sefer Hashem, a different Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the Ramak, wrote Pardes Rimonim, where he brings the opinion of Rabbi Moshe in the book Sefer Hashem, and he said, Ehyeh more al rosh v'sof. It is beginning and its end. Aleph, right? So in Ehyeh, and I may have needed to have some kind of a background so I can type, so I can write on. Maybe I should. No, let's just go with it as it is. Ehyeh is made up of Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey. I'm wondering now, I mean, I did this kind of spontaneously, but I'm wondering now if I should cut this short right now and postpone this live stream for another time where I will be able to have a proper, let's say, board, or at the very least, a piece of paper with the names, which will be able to, no, you know what? This is the time I've been inspired to sit here and do this, so I'm going to go through it now. So, because I don't have visual aids right now, because like I said, I'm doing it spontaneously, I'll try and convey things as they come without being able to show you the letters, without being able to show you how they correspond to Yod Hey Vav Hey, which is the name we all know. So let's keep reading for now. Rabbi Moshe basically says the 4 letters of the name correspond to 4 different types of revelation. And he says that the Aleph and Hey are one section, and the Yod Hey are another section. Yod Hey also makes up the name Yah, which is the name attributed to the Sphira right after Keter, right after the crown, right? The highest Sphira, Keter, is represented by Ehyeh, and Yah, the letters of the second half of that name, are represented in the Sphira, which comes down right after it. Little Andre says, I really want to watch this now, but I'm probably going to download it. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Feel free to go. You have things to do. Go for it. I wasn't really expecting anybody to show up, so 2 people is a great blessing. All right, so he says that that's the reason why Yah is a name, but Aleph Hey is not a name, right, on its own. Because Aleph Hey, the first half of the name Ehyeh, is hidden, let's say, unapproachable. The second half of the name, Yod Hey, is approachable, and so it becomes the name of the Sphira following it, the Sphira of Chochmah. So he says, Ehyeh means I am first and I am last, right? Kingdom and crown, or kingdom and crown, right? Ehyeh asher Ehyeh. And that the first Ehyeh is, according to Rabbi Moshe, somewhat the same as the second Ehyeh, right? What does Moses hear in the burning bush when he says, the people will want to know what is the name of the God that was revealed to me? What should I tell them? And he says, Ehyeh asher Ehyeh. So let's take a side bar here for a second and talk about what that means in English. The translations in English vary from I am what I am, I will be what I will be. Is there anyone other that pops into my head? Not at this very moment. But the name Ehyeh in Hebrew has the beginning Aleph. And that usually speaks of the future. Ehyeh literally means will be. And so, simply translated, that name, that part of the verse is, I will be what I will be, or I will be whatever I will be. But as we know, the things in Hebrew, the translation, a lot of things are lost. And in the original Hebrew, Ehyeh speaks of the future. And it is being told to Moses in the revelation of the burning bush when he says, I am the God of your fathers, right, of the past. And he tells Moses, and I'm also the God of the future. Now, the Aleph, right, the name Yod Hey Vav Hey, which we all well know, pronounced Adonai, except in the temple. The name Ehyeh starts with an Aleph. Aleph is the first letter of the alphabet, right, of the Hebrew Aleph Bet. And in the Aleph, the way that it is drawn, there is a top part, a middle part, and an end part. And in that, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero says, and the Zohar says, is folded in all of reality, physical, spiritual, all of creation and revelation, every manifestation of the divine is folded in that Aleph, where it's, again, from kingdom to crown, from kingdom to crown, from top to bottom, where you have the top point of the Aleph, you have the middle, the diagonal, going down, and then you have another point, kind of pointing in different directions with a diagonal. And he says this represents all of reality, the top, the bottom, and that which is in between. And the name Ehyeh, hang on a second. Is this something important? No, okay. So the name Ehyeh, he says, let's see, okay, we went through that. Okay, so he says the Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey is a kind of progression leading from Keter to Chokhmah to Bina, from the first Sphira to the second to the third, and the third is known as the mother, which is able to have children growing inside and then give birth, meaning inside of that last Hey, there is the capacity of, well, extending beyond that Hey. Let's put it that way, of giving birth to something which has not been revealed yet, but will be. Kind of like a fetus in its mother's womb, in his or her mother's womb, is there, but hidden. And it is only considered born once it is out, and once its own, once he or her, right, are their own being physically outside of the womb. And he says that's that final Hey. And then Rabbi Moshe Cordovero brings the Zohar, which says this. This is when Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, was speaking to his father. And he says, and I'll translate like on the fly, he said, "Father, I have heard Ehyeh asher Ehyeh, but the explanation that I heard didn't sit well with me. And if you can, right, please elaborate on the Ehyeh asher Ehyeh." And he says, "My son Elazar, the friends, right, the scholars, the people, already have established what it is. And it is one word which binds all together." And he says there are hidden paths. You know what? We're going to, let's say, okay. So he says there are two sorts of Ehyeh. There's an Ehyeh which is hidden, like a fetus, like a baby in the womb, where you can feel it, it's moving around, and it's feeding off you, but it's still hidden. It makes its presence known, but it's still hidden. And that's the second Ehyeh. And the first Ehyeh is something which is closer to the crown, something which is imperceptible, something which is not even felt, right? It's not even in the body, so to speak, but outside of the body. If we're talking in an analogous way about revelation being like something which is birthed through the mother, through Bina. So the first Ehyeh, meaning crown, which is outside, right, of human perception, Asher Ehyeh, meaning the three top sfirot, Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, right, the crown, the father, the mother. So you have the crown, Ehyeh, which you cannot touch, which you do not know. It is unknown. And then you have Asher, which represents the beginning of a kind of manifestation, and Ehyeh in the third sphira, in Bina, which is already a kind of mother, which can give birth, right, to creation, to revelation, which can be perceived. Okay, and to give birth. All right. Ehyeh, klomar hashta'ana. So I am now, Ehyeh asher Ehyeh is I am now already that which will later be. In other words, Moses received that revelation of understand that everything that is happening now is also what will happen later in the sense of the divine revelation. The divine does not change. There are different names, different manifestations, and different shades, different sfirot, channels, and rivers and paths. But Adonai is one. There is no change in the divine. There's only a change in how the divine is revealed to the world, to creation. And so he says, afterwards, when Moshe went to the elders and they asked him, right, who is the God that was revealed to you? He does not say Ehyeh, nor does he say Ehyeh asher Ehyeh. He says Adonai. He says Yod Hei Vav Hei, right, pronounced Adonai. When God tells Moses Ehyeh asher Ehyeh, right, he's speaking about, according to the Zohar, he's speaking about crown, chokhmah, and bina, something that's unknown, something that's the beginning of knowledge, and something which can be perceived and also which can birth something else, something which already, where you can understand one thing from another. And what's the word? Extrapolate? And so he says, Ehyeh shlachani alechem. He repeats it for a third time. So, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. And then he said, tell the children of Israel, Ehyeh sent me to you. So there are 3 Ehyehs. And when Moses goes to the children of Israel, he does not mention Ehyeh at all. He does not mention that name, even though it was the one who was spoken to him. He mentions Adonai, Yod Hei Vav Hei, which can be perceived, which is attributed to the torso, which is attributed to the 6th Sfira, Tiferet, which is already something which has offshoots. That is the meaning of the name Tiferet, and its beauty, and it's a few other things, and it's also that which can offshoot. Tiferet is also known as the 6 ends. It's a 6-ended Sfira in one, which it includes Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. So the revelation of the Most High that keeps on going down through the paths, through the Sfirot, down the tree of life towards revelation in Malchut, in the kingdom. And at that moment, at that time, says the Zohar, Moses knew the secret of the holy name, of the sacred name, which is hidden and which is revealed, right? Which is known and unknown, and he what's the word I'm looking for? And he cleaved to it, right? He basically became one with that name, which had not been given to other people in the world, right? That's why we say that Moses is the father of all prophets, even though he was not the first prophet by any means. The divine revelation which Moses manifested physically and spiritually is that of Da'at. Da'at is an interesting sfira. It's the one that connects, let's say, the first 3 with the bottom 7. But as we know, there are 10 sfirot, not 9 and not 11. There are 10. And the name, the sfira of Da'at, which Moshe is connected with and which Moshe embodies, which he brings down into the world, is one which is the higher form of Tiferet. The higher form of that revealed name, Adonai, which is also known and unknown, spoken and unspoken, written Yod Hei Vav Hei, pronounced Aleph Daled Non Yod, like a sword in its sheath, is the name Yod Hei Vav Hei. And Moses is called father of the prophets because he is the one who can be the great bridge, let's say, between the known and the unknown. And he received that revelation of Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. But what he spoke to the world, to the people of Israel, was Adonai, right? Was Yod Hei Vav Hei. And so the name Ehyeh has a completely unknown part to it, which is also the name, right, of the mother of Bina, which can give birth to something tangible, something of more this world, something of Tiferet flowing down to Malchut, going down, right, from crown to kingdom through Da'at, through Tiferet, down the line. This idea of the oneness, if you will, of the 10 Sfirot, that all those revelations of the tree of life are but revelations of one, right, of Adonai, of that unknown, unknowable, and unfathomable creator. That's what Moses was able to perceive with the burning bush, right? That fire that doesn't go out, that keeps on going, that keeps on trying to climb higher and higher. That is one of the attributes of the element of fire. It keeps on going higher and higher. It's also one where you can give it and nothing is lost. In other words, if you take a candle and you light another candle with it, the fire remains in both. Whereas if you take a cup of water and you want to pour it in, the cup is, right, the first cup is vacant while the second cup is filled. Fire is unique, or conceptually, right, very unique in that sense, always climbing higher and is able to give of itself without losing a thing. It's a very, well, one of the 4 elements, elemental. Elementary, my dear Watson. All right, people in the chat, please let me know if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything as I'm going through this. I don't think for a second that I'm doing this name justice, but I'm just reading a little bit from the Pardes Rimonim by the Ramak, right, a little bit from the Zohar, talking about the name Ehyeh, because the burning element, speaking of which, the burning element, fire, asked me to make this video, and I had the time, and I'm so grateful. I've been on for almost 20 minutes, And I haven't done this for what, a year and a half? How long has it been since I went live? I'll check after I'm done. All right, and now Rabbi Moshe Cordovero is talking about what was written in the Zohar, and he kind of explains and gives his take on it, and why Rabbi Elazar asked his father and what his father answered. And again, I'm not going to go through everything because, well, entire books and lifetimes are carried out and written on the name Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh and all the other names that come from it. And like I said, I don't have any visual aids with me right now to give you the proper, let's say, explanation of what the Pardes Rimonim is saying, to the degree that I could explain, right, and translate. But let's see. Okay, so we're talking about the past and we're talking about the future. Ehyeh shlachani alechem. There is something which is revealed in the world, but it too has its root in the crown, right? In the higher, in the topmost, in the unknown, in that part of the divine revelation which is there and it's not there. And we can't really perceive it at all, but we know from what is revealed to us of its existence. Something like that. And the name Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, which is told to Moses, and later shortened down to one Ehyeh, and later spoken, right, as Adonai Yod Hei Vav Hei, where Ehyeh gets kind of put to the side, is because it also does speak of the future. And it's a future which was not yet ripe, I suppose, right? It didn't come to fruition yet with the liberation, with the Exodus, with the redemption from Egypt. The people of Israel were mired in many, let's say, gates of impurity, as it were. And 49 gates of impurity. And they were almost at that 50th gate of impurity, we are told. And then they were at the depths of their inadequacy and uncleanliness, let's say, Egypt. And Egypt did a ton of great things, don't get me wrong, but it's simply not the Hebrew way. They were able to get pulled out by Moses, right, that great bridge, with the name Yod Hei Vav Hei. And that is the name where also when Pharaoh asks him, right, when Moses tells Pharaoh, Adonai, the God of the Hebrews, sent me to you to tell you to let my people go so they may worship me in the desert. Pharaoh says, I don't know Adonai, right? I don't know Yod Hei Vav Hei, and I'm not liberating Israel. So go kick rocks, Moses. And God, in that burning bush revelation, if I'm not mistaken, I might be not remembering correctly, but if I'm not mistaken, he tells him, I will be performing all of these miracles, right, through you, in the heart of Egyptian territory, in that kingdom, so they might know me. This wasn't so Israel can get to know me. Israel know me. I'm the God of their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the tribes went down through Egypt. We all know that story. You all know that story, children of Israel, but it's the Egyptians who have yet to understand who Yod Hei Vav Hei, who Adonai is, and what is my place, right, in their hierarchy of deities. Something like that. And so the name Yod Hei Vav Hei is the name among other ones. There were many, many names which were revealed and which acted out different things in the world at that time, with the 10 plagues and with the tearing apart of the Reed Sea. But when that initial meeting between Moses and the children of Israel took place after he came back from Midian, and they said, right, and he said, Adonai, what will be revealed, what we need to take us out of bondage now, is not some sort of unknowable, unfathomable idea which cannot be touched or even comprehended. No, what we need to get us out of Egypt is Adonai, is Yod Hei Vav Hei, is that idea, that name, that revelation of God, which is in the torso, in the heart, right, of the body, or not the heart, but the center of the body, and Malchut, right, which is Yesod and Malchut, which is the which is the organ which can bring life, right, the sex organ, which can bring life into creation. And so all of this comes together in order to kind of say, Ehyeh asher ehyeh, Ehyeh shlachani alechem, Yod Hei Vav Hei, Adonai, as it's pronounced, These are all the names that come down the line from crown to kingdom. And this is something which Moses was able to perceive in sort of one revelation, right? In one kind of sweeping revelation, he was suddenly aware of all of that. And he was able then, even though he didn't want to take on the job of being that great bridge of liberating the people from Egypt, or carrying them out of Egypt at any rate, right? And tearing, right, and ripping apart the sea to 12, to 2, however you might think of it, to bring down the Torah from Mount Sinai in that amazing revelation, once in a lifetime, once in a generation, once in creation, a man, woman born, who died like a man, who lived and died like a man. Sure, he wore a mask, but we all wear masks. And this is the one who was able to bring, and whose place of burial is not known. He was the one who was able to comprehend, let's say, those names, understand them, translate them into action here in this physical world, bringing it down from those 3 higher sfirot, from the top 3 of the tree of life, all the way down in a straight line to the kingdom, to Malchut, to the physical revelation of God in the world, in Egypt and afterwards. Now, there are many, many things that Moses did, and he was a killer, and he was a warrior. And they say, according to Midrash, he was a king in Africa for like 40 years. Right? 40 years in Egypt, 40 years in Africa, and Midian, 40 years in the desert after the exodus from Egypt, the redemption. And I think that Moses, because he was that great bridge, because of the name Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh, was something that he was able to perceive somehow, right, in its magnitude, in its, let's say, what did the burning elements say? He said, let's read the question again. Can you do a video about Hashem's name? Explain how Hashem's revelation of infinite nature was revealed to Moses at the burning bush. Okay, so a revelation of infinite nature. I, as a finite being, cannot fathom or truly comprehend the infinite. This is also why God's name in certain books is Ein Sof, right, which is unending, which is infinite. Because we, being finite beings, and you could argue over the nature of the soul, but definitely we are finite beings in body, and the mind-body-soul thing is existing right now within me. And yeah, we're all connected, but it's a physical universe which will die and decay like anything else that is physical, at the very least, until we partake of the tree of life, and that's a different story altogether. The infinite nature of Hashem, of the name, the infinite nature of Adonai is revealed in Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, which are revelations of the 3 top sfirot of Keter, Chokhmah, Binah. And in the human body, Keter, Chokhmah, Binah are that which is outside of the body, on top, like an aura or a halo, if you will. And the left lobe and the right lobe, that's Keter, Chokhmah, Binah. And the halo or aura is not actually seen right now by everybody. My brain and its lobes are covered, right? And they have the different filters and layers. And it's unseen, even though it makes me lie. It in every second, it keeps me alive, right? Billions and millions and trillions and quadrillions and whoever billions of neurons firing. And that's all existing in here and in the neural network throughout my body. And it's hidden, yet it makes everything happen. Right? Even this motion right now, it comes from here first. In the blink of an eye, in a split second. I recently asked Google the question, compared to the speed of light, what is the speed of the neurons? And basically, because light has no mass, and neurons do have mass, however infinitesimal, they are many, many magnitudes below the speed of light. So it's still really, really fast, though not the speed of light. But that Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh is working underneath, in the skull, hidden, unknown, yet it controls everything that is known, that is manifested, from the movements to the speech to the logic to the brain to dreams. Everything is going on there, right? What's the word I'm looking for? I don't remember. But anyway, the psyche and everything that's going on in there dwells within, right? The mind, the psyche dwells also within the brain, or at least it's perceived to dwell in the brain. And let's say Kabbalistically speaking, in an analogy, it's the nephesh in the blood, the ruach in the heart, and the neshama, soul, in the brain. Even though, again, it's not physically part of the brain, but you get what I'm saying. All of that was revealed to Moses at that time, and that's why Moses was able to be that bridge. Let's take a question here. Hey, Jesus, hello. Does the hair represent the spirit when nourished? Will grow slowly, but grow nonetheless. That these things take time and work. Okay, let's see. Does the hair represent the spirit when nourished? Will grow slowly, but grow nonetheless. That these things take time and work. I think with the hair, first of all, it's important to remember. I'll move a little bit. Okay. It's important to remember. I'm sorry about the lighting. The sun is over here. I'm sorry about the Freudian slip. Okay. Let's read it again. So the hair. First of all, you do not need to have hair to be a Nazarite. If you go bald, if you are already bald, you don't need to abstain from taking the vow if you are so inclined. If you are called to the Nazarite vow, but you have no hair, that is not a problem. You abstain from wine, dead bodies, unless you take the Samson vow, grapes, raisins, all that, and you're good to go, and you are still a Nazarite. So the hair, as I see it, and representing crown, the spirit, when nourished, will grow slowly, but grow nonetheless. But these things take time and work. Well, look, hair growth has to do with your nutrition. Hair growth, like de facto, right, has to do with genetics. Hair growth has to do with how much you sleep, how you conduct yourself. But I think it represents keter because it's something which grows from within, let's say, the root, right, is inside, growing outside and coming down to the bottommost possible, right? Like I've mentioned this before in the musical Hair, right? Long as God can grow it, my hair. It basically starts from the topmost part of the human body and goes down as it falls as low as it can go. And in that way, it resembles a little bit water, which tends to go down. But it comes from a very high place, and in that, it's like fire. So let's see. Things do take time and work. And I think with the hair, again, it's growing this hair out for the past, I've been with the vow for 13 years, but I've been growing it for probably 15 years, something like that. I have learned a lot of things through the growth of this hair. And even though it is just hair and it will die and decay with the rest of me, it's the significance that I attribute to it, and it's the meaning behind it, which call different things to it. And in that way, the dreadlocks, the hair of the Nazarite, even if it's not dreads, is a kind of spiritual antenna. I even have a video called Our Dreadlocks Spiritual Antenna, where I speak about that for a bit. Jesus says, because it's really hard for me to understand how there's another. Is Yahweh Ehyeh? No, it is not. It is not. Yod Hei Vav Hei is the lower, if you will, manifestation in the hierarchy of the Sfirot. However, the name Yod Hei Vav Hei, Adonai, has to do with middle to end, but it's connected through Da'at to the three topmost Sfirot, and to the unknown, and to the unfathomable. But they are not the same thing at all. It's a different revelation. Or one of the Levantine gods chosen, because the Israelites were prone to idols. Yes, they were. And different names were taken from pantheons of old, and of the time, right? The Canaanite one and others. The Israelites adopted certain rituals and certain names and brought them, sort of reclaimed them, or claimed them, if not reclaimed them, to the Hebrew way. And other gods were renounced. Other gods were forsaken. We must remember that these are all names, right? We give certain names, ones which can be uttered and ones which can only be thought, ones which are uttered this way but not that way. These are all different revelations which we utter physically and try to think of and focus on and meditate on with the mind, right? And with the psyche, with the body being still, or with certain types of breath work, right? Which is the wind, the breath of God in and out. And through the mouth, through the nose, and different combinations. I mean, Rabbi Avraham Abulafia wrote a ton about how to achieve prophecy through certain names, meditations, breath work. But so they were prone to idol worship, and we see much, much later, Baal was always a pain in the Israelite ass, and the different gods, right, of Moav and of Ammon and all of those. It was always a problem. So one was chosen to evolve to monotheism, which would make it easier to understand Ehyeh eventually. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And again, if I had the names like over here or on a board, but there are certain things which correspond between Ehyeh and Yod Hei Vav Hei. And the Yod, which is the third letter, and the Vav, which is the third letter, they correspond. There's a connection. There's a connection between them as well. That's very crucial. So it's a connection, but one is not the other. Because, says Jesus, it's really hard for me to understand how the jealous God can be the Ein Sof. Right, the jealous God, right, is a manifestation of judgment, of jealousy, of din. Now, it can be, and it many times is, din or wrath or judgment, which is supposed to awaken the Israelite people to act with a way of kindness and with a way of merit and bring balance. So when the divine when there is a revelation of divine wrath and judgment in the world, we are called to come and sort of come against it with more good deeds, with more mitzvahs, with kindness, with chesed, thereby bringing balance, right, with what we can, obviously. Or sometimes it's a question of fighting fire with fire, but it changes on a case-by-case basis. There are also names which are, let's say, the name of Bina, which is written Yod Hei Vav Hei, but is pronounced Elohim and has the punctuation of Elohim, because it is that which has no judgment, but which is capable of bringing judgment into the world, just like a mother who is female can birth a male. Achi, says Usal. Hi, wow, been a long time. Hey, Fatah, where do you live? I'm back in Israel. I'm back in Jerusalem for 2 years now. This is recently started our third year back. And for about a year and a half after I came back from the Netherlands, I was saying, it's like I just came back. I'm still sort of in awe of being back in Israel. So Jesus says, yes, I'd see it as spiritual hair, metaphysical hair. Watching hair grow is like watching paint dry, yes. But when one waits long enough, you will see some results. Right, one of the greatest things, as I can perceive it, about the Nazarite dreadlocks, organic dreadlocks, freeform dreadlocks, neglect dreadlocks, whatever you want to call them. People kind of make these distinctions. So you have right this hair here, which is still regular hair, and yeah, you can see it's not even locked up at all. But this is really locked up, and there are a few nice looking Congos here. I don't know what can be seen with the light, but it's like, patience and humility and the ability to let the process carry on in its natural course, right? To let nature take its course. It's something that is very, very, very close to me and to the Nazarite vow, I believe. I've spoken of this many times in connection to the Nazarite vow. Usal gives me 3 hearts and 3 hearts and flowers. Many, many thanks. All right, I'll open the floor up to you right now if you have any other questions, concerns, comments, or anything else. I'll just say that I am so very thankful that I got to speak now for 40 minutes. I don't take it for granted. I had a few people here with me, Little Andre, Jesus, Usal, maybe 1 or 2 others along the way that didn't participate in the chat, but who jumped in for a while. I haven't made a live stream in such a long time. I've been doing a couple of shorts here and there. As I told Little Andre on Facebook, occasionally I fart out a short, but I haven't been serial about it by any stretch of the imagination. Hey, gotta run. Love you, brother. Thank you so much. He's a kif. Have a good one, man. So I'm going to say goodbye too. Let's have a wonderful week. The people who are now with the holiday. Oh, wait, there's something from Jesus. I know you don't want to give it. I know you don't want to give it energy, and we are probably warned not to be moved by the troubles of the world for a reason, for it might drag you into the current duality. I'm not sure precisely what it is that you want to say there. I'll read it again. I know you don't want to give it energy, and we were probably warned not to be moved by the troubles of the world for a reason, for it might drag you into the duality. But something is manifesting, no? You know what? I'm sorry. Can you explain a bit more? I'm not really understanding the question, but can you elaborate or phrase it differently, or I'll vamp while you write. So as you know, those of you watching now or later, well, if you're watching it later, you know, because you may have, never mind. Either way, this war. Let's not talk about it. Mentioning the current conflict without mentioning the conflict. Yeah. You know what? I want to end on a positive note. I hope and pray that regardless of whatever deal will be done, I can't speak of it. I have such a narrow mind, and I can't speak of such things which are above my pay grade. But I want all the hostages to come back. I want there to be peace. And many times, the way to make peace is to vanquish your enemy. And the enemy is this terrorizing, and it needs to be stopped. So let's have a wonderful week, as much as we can. Let's hope all the hostages come back, and a swift and decisive victory for Tzahal, and justice for those in Gaza who are non-combatants. True justice for them. A real place to live and advance and do their thing without the threat of terrorism. Take care. Let's have a good one. I hope to be back before long, God willing.